Now here with the latest headlines, it's the ITV News.
Wearing face masks will no longer be mandatory when so-called Freedom Day arrives. That is according to one minister who says it will be up to us to manage the risk from COVID to ourselves and others, despite warnings from some scientists.
The state won't be telling you what to do, but you will want to exercise a degree of personal responsibility and judgment.
Also ahead, a walk in the park for the England squad back home and enjoying some downtime before the semi-final.
It's coming, football's coming home.
After thrashing Ukraine, England fans are now daring to dream of a slice of Euros history. And one giant step for China as its astronauts complete their first spacewalk.
This is ITV News with Lucrezia Millarini.
Good evening. Ever since the Prime Minister pushed back the date for easing the final COVID restrictions to July the 19th, there has been a debate about what so-called Freedom Day might actually look like. Today, we got the strongest hint yet. Housing Secretary Robert Jenrick said there would be a much more permissive regime, adding that wearing masks would no longer be compulsory. The Prime Minister is expected to set out the full guidelines in the next few days. But with cases continuing to rise, some scientists have warned of the risks of leaving public health decisions to the public, as Hannah Miller reports.
They've become 2021's must-have accessory, but a face mask's about to go out of fashion. The government suggesting they won't be needed in shops and public transport after July the 19th.
There won't be legal restrictions, the state won't be telling you what to do, but you will want to exercise a degree of personal responsibility and judgment. So different people will come to different conclusions on things like masks, for example.
But Labour's Shadow Chancellor says she'll keep wearing one until it's clear they're no longer needed.
We've seen briefings this weekend from ministers, but what we haven't seen is the evidence on which these decisions are being made. We want the restrictions to be lifted, but it's got to be done in a way that is secure and won't have to be reversed in just a few weeks' time.
The latest data shows COVID cases rising sharply to almost 25,000 yesterday, but the number of people going to hospital is lower, on average 279 in one day. While there's concern from some scientists that people need clear guidance to protect others as well as themselves, many shoppers don't seem totally sold on the idea of ditching the mask.
I work as a nurse in my job, so no, I'm not keen at all to get rid of it. I think we should keep them wearing them, definitely for the rest of this year.
If I went on the tube or the buses, I think I'd want to, just for my own safety.
Happy to throw them in the bin. Yeah, same here.
Social distancing could soon become a thing of the past. Welcome news for businesses ready to pack more people in. As the summer tempts people outside, fresh air offering some protection, even when the masks come off.
I would not be arguing that people generally need to be wearing masks. However, if you are particularly vulnerable, in a vulnerable age group, and you are in a particularly crowded environment, indoor environment, then probably it may well still be a good idea to wear a mask.
While we've all got used to seeing streets like this, as the focus shifts to how best to live with the virus, what normal life looks like could soon change again.
Hannah is here now. So Hannah, when can we expect to find out more about what the COVID rules will look like from July 19th?
Well, we understand that an announcement on that vision of life living with COVID is expected very imminently. It's not just about masks and social distancing. Of course, there are also questions about COVID certificates and about working from home, the kind of changes that businesses really need to plan for. And that so-called Freedom Day is now, as you say, only 2 weeks away. There has been an enormous shift in emphasis since the new Health Secretary, Sajid Javid, took over. He wrote today that there are both economic and also health benefits, particularly in mental health and stopping domestic violence, if we reopen the economy. That will be hugely popular with Conservative backbenchers, also with many members of the public. But there are those who haven't been able to have the vaccine for medical reasons, or who are worried about how well it works on them, who are anxious about so many rules being scrapped so quickly. After more than a year of sacrifices that people have made on behalf of both themselves and others, we are seeing another shift again towards this language around personal responsibility.
All right, Hannah, thank you. Just over 24 hours after their 4-0 win against Ukraine in Rome, England's footballers have been recuperating at their UK base as they prepare to face Denmark in the semi-finals. They are now tournament favourites, but they aren't showing the pressure. This evening, the FA released images of the squad strolling around the grounds of St George's Park and relaxing in the pool on inflatable unicorns. Well, Wednesday's match will see England return to Wembley in front of a crowd of 60,000. Here's our sports editor, Steve Scott.
Rarely do England fans experience what they watched last night, a largely anxiety-free 90 minutes of knockout football. A team that seems to improve with every game, carving out a new piece of history on an almost daily basis.
For the semi-final, we have to not be complacent. And to get to the final, we have to approach the game in the same manner that we approached the Germany game and the Ukraine game. Because, of course, we will be favourites. We're at home and we're playing against a team who we are expected to beat. So we have to approach it in the right manner.
Having arrived back at 5 this morning after grabbing a few hours' sleep, rest and recovery began with a gentle stroll around their hotel grounds. Time to start thinking about the next few days. That was followed by some time in the pool and a return of the inflatable unicorns that were such a hit during the World Cup in Russia. When England beat Germany, there were 40. This Wednesday, 20,000 more fans will be allowed into Wembley, the biggest sporting crowd here since the start of the pandemic. Those who gambled that England would make it this far are now the envy of supporters everywhere, holding the most sought-after e-ticket there is right now.
It's great to be going. We bought the tickets kind of on a hope and a prayer, and it's crazy that it's actually arrived.
It would have been an amazing experience, even if England win, and it will be an amazing experience. Even if England don't win, and if England do win, it will be probably the best day of our lives.
Surfing through to the last 4 on a wave of Christian Eriksen emotion, their talisman who survived a cardiac arrest in their first game, Denmark are dangerous opponents. They actually beat England in their most recent competitive meeting at Wembley in October last year. Gareth Southgate has already led an England team to a major semi-final. That was in the World Cup in Russia 3 years ago. Many of this team were with him then, and their motivation now is to go at least one step better. Complacency is not something Gareth Southgate will allow to creep into his squad, not that the players have shown a hint of it to date. They now wear the label of favourites, and all know just one more good performance takes them and England to a first ever European Championships final. Steve Scott, ITV News, St George's Park.
Reaching the semi-final is England's best result in the European Championship since that famous Southgate missed penalty of Euro 96. 25 years on, many England fans are already daring to believe that this could be their tournament, especially those too young to remember the disappointments of years gone by, as Sejal Carrier reports.
It's coming up! It's coming up! It's coming! Football's coming home!
For these youth players, not even a Sunday morning downpour could rain on England's parade. Spirits still lifted after last night's emphatic win over Ukraine. These playing fields of North London in the shadow of Tottenham's ground in White Hart Lane. No wonder Harry Kane was the name on most lips here, but so too was Raheem Sterling.
You know, it means I can make it too because, you know, I know they haven't come up with a lot, you know, so it means I can make it as well.
Do you think we can do it, and how would you feel if we did?
I think we can do it. We can win it. I'd be so excited. I'd be full of joy. I don't know how to explain it. That's how much it would mean to me.
Ian Marshall is the chairman of Ridgeway Rovers, the youth club where it all began for Harry Kane, where the coaches moulded a young Kane, seen here on the top left.
How proud are you
of Harry Kane.
We're so proud as a club, and the fact that I could end up being a chairman of a club that produced a captain of England that may bring silverware back home is fantastic, and that'll be a dream come true for, well, it'll be a dream come true for everybody, but for a chairman of a club where he played as a kid, fantastic. What can I say?
Of course, there's still the small matter of beating Denmark. The Roper family have tickets for the game at Wembley on Wednesday night, but loyalties are split. Dad Mark is rooting for England, Mum Louise, who's Danish, for the opposition. And the kids?
Underdog Denmark, you know? Yeah, they're 10 times smaller, but you know what? If they've got this far, they can get further.
Yeah, Denmark all the way, really. Yeah, I don't
I'm
know.
a bit more split than my sisters, I think. I mean, I'm happy one of them's going to make it to the final at least.
But for most of the country at least, England's triumphant performance is bringing a nation together in joy, jubilation and hope they could go all the way. Sejal Karia, ITV News.
And you can see England v Denmark here on ITV and on the ITV Hub on Wednesday night, with coverage starting at 7 p.m. Pope Francis has been admitted to hospital for what the Vatican described as scheduled surgery on his colon. The 84-year-old has been suffering from a condition that can cause recurring abdominal pain. The news came just hours after the Pope greeted the public in St. Peter's Square at his weekly address. 19 people have so far been rescued after a giant mudslide swept through a town near the Japanese capital, Tokyo. At least 2 people died and some 130 homes and buildings have been damaged. More than 1,000 rescue workers are involved in the search for survivors. Returning to sport and F1, Max Verstappen has extended his lead in the World Championship with a dominant win in the Austrian Grand Prix. The Dutch driver led from lights to flag to record his 2nd win at the Red Bull Ring in as many weeks and his 4th win in 5 races. Behind him, Britain's Lando Norris drove an impressive race to finish 3rd in the McLaren ahead of Lewis Hamilton. And finally, 2 astronauts have made the first spacewalk outside China's new orbital station. The pair spent nearly 7 hours setting up cameras and other equipment using a 15-metre-long robotic arm. 3 astronauts in total will spend 3 months on the station, China's longest crewed mission to date. It's also China's 3rd station in the Earth's orbit and part of an ambitious space programme that landed a robot rover on Mars in May. And that's some view, isn't it? And that is all from us for now. The weather is up next. But from me and all of the weekend team here, it's good night.